Hello, everybody. We are today going to be doing just a quick little lesson on using your calculator. It's really all that it is. We're going to be graphing a parabola to analyze it using the calculator, and these should all be commands that you're familiar with. So, first thing I did was I went into the y equals and put my equation in there: negative 3x squared plus 75x plus 214. And you know that when you're going to deal with something like this, when I graph it, these big numbers in there, it's not going to show up worth anything, right? It looks like a straight line almost. So, how do we want to deal with that? Well, a bad idea is normally to come in here and use the zoom command because the zoom will change your window in X and your window in Y. And a lot of times you don't need both of those, or you need one to change. Maybe you need your Y to change by a multiple of 10, but you only need your X to add a few little spaces on there to get it out. So we're not going to use, to break this graph down, we're not going to use the zoom key. We're going to use the window button. Now, for X, you typically don't want to extend those very far. They tend to not need to be extended very far. When I look at this graph, I can tell that it's going up as it moves from left to right. I can see that. And so I may change my X window, this to, let's see, I don't need X min. Sorry, hold on a minute. This is a little bit tricky figuring out which commands to use. So I might change X max to 20. I'm not going to change it to 100. If I do that, I'm not going to wind up seeing things well normally. Now, what about the Y min and max? Well, I need to go up. I can see that because it's um, the top is what I need to get to, that vertex up there. And what the good rule of thumb is to go with whatever the biggest number is in the problem. And in this case, it's 214. I'm going to go with something near that. So maybe Y max, I'm going to go with 250. Now this may not get me the exactly where I need to be, but it should get me in the neighborhood. Okay, so I've got it going up a little bit better. It looks a little more like there's a little curve coming in. Clearly I need to go up much higher and I need more X values. So we'll change that to 30, X max. I'm going to change Y max to 500. So you can see my change on the X, it is going up, but it's not going up nearly as fast as the Y goes up. And that's pretty typical with graphs. All right. So I can see the X coming down now, but I can't see the top yet. So we'll go one more time up here. Looks like I'm going to go up to, let's say 700. I just want to make sure I can see it and graph that. There we go. We've got it in there now. Now, the three pieces of information that we want to find on the parabola that you're going to have to find when you do the worksheet. We want to know where the vertex is. We want to know where the y-intercept is. I don't have a lot of space here on split screen, so I'm going to abbreviate that. And we want to know where the zeros are. Oh, it didn't. Now I'm okay. We'll do the best. It's out of alignment for the present. Okay, to find the vertex, we want to go to this calculate menu up here, and it's in blue above trace. So I'm going to go second, trace, and in this case, this parabola has a maximum. It's either a minimum or a maximum. So I want that. Now it will ask me for a left bound or a right bound. And I'm using the arrow button here. You can see in red right there. You can use that. Interestingly, you can also just type in a value. I haven't done that on this emulator, so let's just see if it's, so let's say as a left boundary, I just type in 1. Yep. Hit enter. So it just automatically uses 1 as a left boundary. For a right boundary, now remember this y max over here, or x max, sorry, x max was 30. So this looks like it's probably about 15. So for the right boundary, I'm just going to type in 20. hit enter. And so if you don't want to run your little blinker man back and forth using the arrows, you can just type in values and that will work. For guess, you don't have to type in anything. Just going to hit enter. And there is my vertex. Now, if you notice this 12.49999, when you're doing work on the graph screen, there are rounding errors that come in every now and then. The calculator uses decimal approximating, and sometimes it gets close enough and it just quits. The actual exact value for this x coordinate is 12.5. And as we go through the year, you'll get better at learning when it's doing that and how to tell. The y coordinate is 682.75, and I am really out of space there. Okay, so that's the vertex. I'm sure you've done that before in pre-cal, finding maxes and mins of functions. So that shouldn't be anything new. The y-intercept, we'll do that next. The y-intercept is always the easiest. The y-intercept happens when the x value is 0, which means if I put 0 in for x here and in for x here, the y-intercept is always going to be this number at the very end. So 214 on the equation. You don't need your calculator to do that. You can just look at the equation. I do want you, when you're writing this, I do want you to write y equals in front of it, right? It is the y-intercept, those are y coordinates. And so I want that to be uh, specified that way. Now the zeros are down here where the function, where the y coordinate is 0, and we're going to have two of those. And you can have a problem. I think we're going to have it here. So let's take a look. You can have a problem, 0 is number 2, because there's not enough graph screen to see down here. So, I go just a little to the right of that one and I'm immediately off the graph screen. We'll see how this works. If you're doing it on your calculator and you can't, the axis runs over the top of the words and the numbers down here, uh, all you need to do is add a little bit onto the negative part of the graph, and that'll bump everything up and make it to where you can see your answers a little bit better. Okay, so for this 0, now this is 30 over here, 29, 28, 27. Looks like it's between 27 and 28. But I can do the same thing for left bound and right bound. I can just type in a value. 20 is clearly to the left of this 0 right here. 30 is clearly to the right of it. And as long as I get one on each side, you can't even see, there's a little line there. I don't know if you guys can see it. I can see it on this screen. Guess is a waste of our time. Just hit enter. And there we go. When you write these down, answers in AP Calculus need to be accurate to 3 decimal places. Sorry, this is out of alignment. So I've got 27.585. Whoa, it's really out of alignment now. Here, let's try. Oh my goodness. I'm just going to come down here and try to get this to work. Wow. Okay. I'm literally writing about 6 to 8 inches below where it's showing up on the board. Okay. You could also write that as 27.586 because it would round up. On the AP exam, they don't care if you go out 3 places and cut it off or if you go out 3 places and round it off. You can do either one, and on anything you do for me, I will take that. It's perfectly okay. So 27.585 or 27.586. Another thing I want you to notice here on the calculator, the y coordinate is supposed to be 0, and instead they gave me -1, e -10. Now, e -10 is an engineering notation. It's shorthand for scientific notation. So this would actually be -1 times 10 to the -10th power. Well, if you expand that out in as a standard number, you would have -0 point. That would be followed by 9 zeros and a 1 at the end. And so that is approximately 0. Again, this is calculator error. When you see one of these really weird numbers with that E and a negative after it, a -10, 11, 12, 13, something like that, you know that what you're actually looking at is the number 0, as close as the calculator will get it. Okay, let's get this other 0. Now it's on the left bound. I can see 1, 2, 3. So for my left bound, I'm going to pick -5. Whoops. Oh, it treated that as a subtraction. All right, we'll go to it and fix it here. Got to use the negative button instead. Okay. For the right bound, I'm just going to I'll choose -1 so you can see it a little better. All right, so it's going to look for a 0 in between these two arrows, and it's going to find that one right there. And there we go, -2.585 or -2.586. See if I can get this to, oh, now this one's right. Oh my goodness. Oh, I don't know. This board, I've aligned it 3 times today and it's still behaving this way. Okay, so two zeros, 27.585, -2.585. Those are the two zeros. You can change those sixes on the end and graph it that way. Okay, so that's the information that we want. Now, so you're going to do two things for me on the work every time you do one of these problems on the worksheet. You're going to list these values over here. Right? Got them listed, labeled, hopefully more neatly than I've done down here. Uh, and then you're going to graph the parabola for me yourself and um, and label those same values on there. So to do that, I'm going to pop this up to fill the full screen. Wow, that's gigantic now. Hide that and scroll this down. Extend the page a little bit more. Okay. Hopefully I'll be able to do this. If I stay in another part of the board, it might work better. Now, when you do this for me, I'm intentionally gave us gigantic values on this problem because all I want you to do is graph it so that it looks like it looks on your calculator screen. Now, that's about what it looked like on the calculator screen. You have to get the window fixed so you can see everything nicely in order to do this. What I don't want is I don't want a screen like this where somebody maybe doesn't extend the values out correctly, and so then I get a parabola that looks like this. Okay, that's terrible. That's worthless as a graph. Okay, so don't do that. You change the window on your calculator until you can see the screen nicely, right? Then you graph a picture like that, and then you come over here and you label everything. So this is -2.585. Right? Don't try to count spaces. You know that the numbers aren't convenient for that, and they're never going to be convenient for that. So don't even try it. For the vertex, oh, actually, let me go ahead and get this one. This was at negative or at 27.585. At least I hope it was. I don't have not looking at it. So this was 214 on the y-axis. And then the vertex, you can do the vertex one of two ways. I can come here and here, and this was, well, I'm going to have to scroll back and look at them now. 12 and a half, 682.75. Okay, so 12.5, label that here. 682 point, whoops, that's supposed to be, oh goodness, 75. All right, so you can do it like that, or if you prefer, you can just come up here. Yeah, not there. Let's, oh my goodness. And just write the ordered pair up here at the top and in that same place. And so you can do either one of those, that's fine. So when you do this worksheet, you've got about 4 or 5 of these to graph. Um, this is what I'm looking for. I want to see the values labeled like this, written out, and then I want to see a graph, and I want to see those exact same numbers on the graph in the correct places. Don't give me any graphs like this, right? get your window set, make it look like a nice graph, and then put the labels on there. Things don't have to be spaced precisely. I'm not going to be super picky about that as long as your numbers are in the right place. That's what we're working on, using the calculator correctly, and then being able to get those values and understand what they all are and what they mean. Um, okay, well, signing off here again. If you have any questions about it, I will answer them in the Google Meet. Catch you later.